Welcome to Picture the Professor, sports betting show hosted by a real statistics professor. Jake, we're live again. How often this becomes a thing? If we're trying to do this here, 9 p.m. Eastern is kind of when we're eyeing getting ready to go. So it's 9:07 Eastern now. So if you're watching this later again, comment if you want us to keep doing these live shows. If you end up being with us, we'll take questions about different games. Jake, you can see there on the screen the recap through Monday, plus a few games from Tuesday, kind of getting things going a little bit in the right direction. Early season stuff. I asked Jared yesterday. I don't know if you have any thoughts here about the first week of college basketball.
I mean, the last couple of years, transfer portal has been like all anybody wants to talk about. Like that's where all your key players are coming from. This year's freshman class is so deep. I mean, it's not like, I mean, obviously Cooper Flagg and like the guy Edgecombe at Baylor and Fland at Arkansas, like these top guys, and they got both the dudes at Rutgers. Very, very good, and everybody knew that. But, I mean, it's the second and third players these teams have picked up with Concanipple at Duke, the kid at Texas, TJ something that just shoots every time he has the ball. They're just deep freshman class that are making big-time impacts, and it's just been kind of fun to see how, as this COVID year ends, like, is the freshman, like the recruiting class, going to be the bigger story, or is it who you get out of the portal and how these coaches adjust? It's kind of fun to see.
If I've yet to see Texas play, I know they did have that more marquee game. I guess it was opening night.
Yep.
There was so much happening that night. But my dad, being a Texas alum, is going to love having a guy who shoots every time he gets the ball. I'm going to hear a lot of complaints about that, I'm sure. So hopefully we can keep this rolling. If you're interested in joining us over on Dub Club, the all access package gets Discord chat. We've got a great community over there, picks from other people on every sort of sport possible, projections, probabilities, price thresholds for multiple markets on the sports that we have a model for, which is college football, NFL, college basketball, and MLB. The link in the show description. You have like your first month, and we have sport-specific packages if you're only interested in some sports or the other. Quick reminders about the model. It's a player-based model. Ratings reflect the current roster. The average grade is 100. Higher implies more points, so offense would be higher, defense is lower. We are projecting an average game. One game is unknowable. We have no idea how it'll play out. So that's why we always talk about what's the probability a team wins or loses. 55% winners will win 11 times out of 20 and lose 9 times out of 20. That's what tells us what the right price or right number is in order for the bet to be worth it. The model gives A, B, C, love, like, or lean. We choose the plays. We'll get to it here. 3 games all at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to start off with Kent State and Auburn. One of our top plays for the night here, we're going to lay the 20.5 with Auburn, as Sideline says it should be 28.5. This Auburn team, the model was high on the start. The models really liked what they've done. We had them against Houston, thinking that was closer to a pick 'em than it should have been. That either team could have won that game. Getting points or plus odds, according to the model, made a lot of sense there. They're really good. There's really not much else to say about them. Kent State, just very mediocre, run of the mill. A team that's been good in the MAC at times, now kind of more just a ho-hum run-of-the-mill college basketball team there. That 100 grade there, as you can see on the screen, indicates they are exactly average for college basketball. Offense slightly above average, defense slightly below average. It doesn't really matter which side of average they're on. You're going to have a hard time going on the road and hanging in with this Auburn team. Jake, I always think about, early on, the A grade, favorites have done pretty well, and half of them were laying some really big numbers, and teams are just clocking the other team. I'm curious how, what is it that you see about this one where you say, I know it's a really big number, but I'm not really that concerned, and I'm going to lay it anyway? Because sometimes these big numbers, we should be laying them, and other times it's just like, there's just a lot that can happen. They're like, what is it about this one that you're like, I know it's a big number, but I still like laying it anyway?
Like Auburn, you look at that defensive number and see how low that is, and then see how high the offensive number the sideline has. When you've got a spread like that, where it is one of the lower numbers I think I've ever seen sideline put to a defense with a coach like Bruce Pearl, and how his pressure and up in the face tip balls and all that on top of an offensive talented team like they have. There's not a number that in a game where they're playing a very mediocre, if not below average team, that there's not really too many numbers that you can hang that I'm not going to back 100%. It's crazy how good this Auburn team is. I didn't see it coming into the year. And I mean, apparently there's a lot going on inside the team, because I mean, diverting a flight, like, it was just kind of crazy.
Court, in the air, on the water, doesn't really matter. There's a lot going on with this team.
I mean, and you know, Bruce Pearl, watched him forever at Tennessee, watched him at Auburn for a while. He's very good at handling personalities and stuff like that. So he will get the best out of this team. One of the better coaches out there, and I just like Kent State's athletic program right now. It's kind of in the dumps. This is, I mean, the football team is, and the basketball team that they normally kind of feel like that's normally where they hang their hat, is just not there this year.
I it doesn't hold for every game, of course, but I do feel like, early on in the season, I'm a little more comfortable laying these big numbers. Everyone's excited to play. All the backups are excited to play. When you get towards Christmas, that's when I kind of start getting a little bit more leery of it. The students are home. We're getting settled into the season. Conference plays around the corner. And that's when you sometimes laying those bigger numbers can be a lot tougher, where a team's just like, whatever, we won by 10. We don't really care anymore. So that early season enthusiasm might help us here. Then you get to conference, and then it's a whole different ballgame by the time we turn the calendar into 2025 for conference play. Cousin Jared hopped on and asked if Auburn will get into a fight before the game. If it didn't matter against Houston, I guess it's not going to matter against Kent State. But it is a good reminder. We talked about this yesterday with him, right? Narratives, they're great. They're fun stories, but that doesn't really mean a lot. I'm watching here tonight, Bowling Green, Western Michigan in football, and a guy gets, unfortunately really, really hurt for Bowling Green. And you look at that and you say that could really go one of two ways. It could really deflate them, or it could really motivate them. And it turned out they started playing a lot better after that happened. And so you just never know with something like that, what's going to actually help and what's not going to help. And so that's why we always try to stay grounded in the model and just say who's really good or not. And this is an Auburn team that we just think is incredibly good, and if they show up and play hard, it should blow the doors off of Kent State. So we're like the 20.5 with Auburn. But Jake, we always talk about shopping around, and so again, a reminder: have multiple sports books in your portfolio. If you don't have an account there at BetUS, of course, they always have great deposit offers, bonus offers. So check them out. But we saw on Tuesday night here, almost every pick we made moved 2, 3, 4 points. We talked about it yesterday when Cousin Jared was on the show. It's just a reminder that when these lines move, shop around and find the one where it hasn't moved that extra half point, that extra full point. You never know. This Auburn game feels like a game, and I could be wrong, but it feels like a game that by the time we get, an hour or two before tip-off is going to be more in the 24 range. And so this is when hopefully get it fast here around 20. But every point, like we said, every point could matter. Hopefully they win by 30 and it doesn't matter, but you end up with, sometimes it's within 2 or 3 points. And so every point, every half point that you can get could end up mattering. So again, make sure you're always having multiple books in your account, and BetUS is a great one to have if you don't already have them. California and Vanderbilt. Jake, I feel like the joke here should be that this is probably a conference game. I don't even know what conference it would be in, but it feels like in the new alignment. Why not? This is probably a Big Ten game for all I know. It's of course not a conference game. It'd be too early for that. It's the only reason I know that, to be honest. It gets so confusing. But we've got a California team that's top 100 according to Sideline, a Vanderbilt team that's top 30 according to Sideline. I don't know about you, Jake. I feel like Vanderbilt's been a team that's been on the cusp of getting over the hump for the last several years now. It feels like they've had moments, they've had spurts, they've had weeks where they've looked really good, and they just haven't quite been able to get there. Maybe this is the year. The model's really high on them. They're at home. They're favored by about double digits. The model agrees with that. We're going to stay away from the side. I said we're going to go to the total and go over 161. This is a huge number, but the model's projecting 166.5, largely on the basis of two things. Number one, both these teams play at an above average pace, especially California. And then number two, both teams have a sizably better offense than defense. And so we're expecting a lot of efficiency, not a lot in the way of stops, and a lot of possessions on top of that. It's kind of the perfect mixture for a lot of points. We'll see if that holds true. We nailed the first 2 games on Tuesday night, and we're recording during the third game where we went over a big number. So we don't know if that'll work or not. So now we're putting our hat in another ring of a big number going to go over, but we think it makes sense given all the variables at play. Jake, what's your take?
Look, I'm very interested. This is the first time I'll watch Vanderbilt with Byington, the ex-James Madison coach. Listen, everybody's a point guard, so that's one way to go about it. But
wasn't that the opposite of what Louisville tried to do? And it did not work for Louisville. So if maybe it works, right?
Yeah, who knows? But besides that, Vandy is a very interesting team to me. They take extremely good care of the ball. I guess that point guard, everybody being a point guard, helps out there, but they cannot shoot the 3 ball. But they're very efficient, very good offensively. Defense is hit or miss. But from what the little bits I've seen, California is the kind of the opposite. They're a little bit looser with the ball, but not that much, but they can shoot the 3 ball very well. So I think that's where we're going to get the points, because each team's strength kind of is countered with the weakness from the other team. And so it's going to be very interesting, because Vanderbilt really can't guard the 3 ball. I would not want to be on either side for this game whatsoever. I just wouldn't feel comfortable, because I think it's one of those games that's going to be down towards the last few minutes and some random 3 goes in or doesn't go in and throws the cover off. But the total, I think this game will be tons of points, tons of pace. Be a very fun game to watch, just with how these teams want to play.
And because Jared was mentioning if they play James Madison, did the over will be a great play. And we had a lot of those overs with James Madison last year. What is it with James Madison having fantastic coaches and then getting promoted and trying to resurrect programs that have maybe not ever been known for what they're doing? But they were a good team last year. And so hopefully a good over team last year, and hopefully that'll carry over for us. You talk about potentially a close game, potentially a blowout. Kind of either one of those has a chance to help us with the over. If Vanderbilt does run away at home being the better team, you have to assume it's because they're putting up something like 90 points or 100 points or something, which is what James Madison tried to do in some of those games last year. If it's a close game, you have to imagine maybe some late fouls, maybe overtime. So we got a couple different ways we can get there. It is a big number. It does remind me a lot of this Duke Kentucky game, which again is happening right now. We're about to tip. If you're watching with us live or shortly after there, you're kind of in real time with us. If you're watching it, on Wednesday morning or Wednesday afternoon, you already know how that played out. But kind of a similar thing where it's like, hey, one team should be able to score based off what we see. Vanderbilt should be able to score with how good their offense is against California's defense. And then California, might have a little bit harder of a time, but that pace, if they're able to push the pace, that's going to get us points too. And so we always like, if we're going over a big number like this, we like having it where both teams should be able to have success via one path or the other, whether it's because we're just getting a lot of possessions or we're having a lot of efficiency. And yes, Vanderbilt is the school with the weird floor. I don't know.
Do they still have the benches at the baselines? I can't remember if they changed that or not.
I feel like it's got to change because it's the weirdest, it's one thing when you go to a place like Oregon and have the weird court, right, where it just kind of throws you off. And I imagine as a player, it might throw you off too, like your spacing of where you are being like, oh, I'm in the trees now, right? But when you get to a place like Vanderbilt where you're like jumping off, it's almost like some of the Final Four stuff, right, which is a whole unique as well. What
was their old coach that used to like have all his play calls by whistles because half the time you can't yell to the other end of the floor because of where the benches are? That was always a wild, like home court advantage, like trying to figure out how to signal in those floor your play calls. It was just wild,
crazy. All right, so remember we always have the all access package for Dub Club. If you want a cheaper package with the picks only, $19.99 per month, just the picks, no extra details. Every top play, all the plays delineated by their grade as well. And if you're interested, that promo code only1 gets you your first month for only $9.99. So check that out if you're enjoying the show and are hopefully making money alongside with us. We're going to wrap up with, again, the third 8 p.m. Eastern game. We have picks for other times, of course, on Dub Club. These are the 3 games that we thought were the most interesting and or compelling and or we like the most. We had things to talk about. It just happened to be all at the same time. Troy and Arkansas. Arkansas couldn't quite get it done against Baylor, who couldn't at all get it done against Gonzaga. We're early enough in the season where I don't think that means a ton, but it is something you can't help but think about, right? When you're looking at these games. With regards to the side, we think this is priced pretty well. We've got it right around where the spread is in the low double digits. Instead, we're going to go over 149.5. Model says 153.5. Jake, what do you got?
Like, Troy struggles to turn the ball over. I'm not a huge fan of the Arkansas and Coach Cal's offense. As you see, a team that with Baylor, that kind of settled back into themselves after that weird Gonzaga game, kind of really took the steam out of it by not turning the ball over and stuff like that. Troy is going to turn the ball over. They're just not good at keeping it, and they don't make up for it with the 3-ball. So I think these live ball turnovers are going to feed into what Coach Cal does do well, and does Kentucky and Memphis and all that is get great athletes, great players, and let them have freedom to do whatever they want. Boogie Fland, incredible freshman. He's worth a watch. I think he's averaging 17 or so a game right now, and that might be leading them in scoring. If not, it's close. But he's got a ton of talent, and I don't have high expectations for this Arkansas team just because I think Cal is not the guy to give him over the hump, but in a game like this, they will flex. Being at home, Bud Walton Arena is absolutely one of the toughest places in the nation to play. Just incredible. Troy, that's going to add a few more turnovers to Troy, and I think this game is just going to have a ton of points because the pace is going to be outrageous.
Yeah, that's where it's like you look at these, the defenses are both pretty good, but you look at the pace, should be pretty up and down. It's interesting. You talk about the coaching changes there, and it's going to take me a bit just to kind of get in the rhythm of that. It's hard enough to keep track of all the college football coaching changes. Now you got the college basketball coaching changes as well, and some of the shuffle. You talk about a team like Kentucky, where Coach Cal came from, and their style probably doesn't change a ton, even though you've got a new coach and new recruits and all the other stuff. Because when you look at what Pope did at BYU, he liked to shoot the ball, get up and down the court. It's fairly similar, like maybe a little bit different with regards to, the star athletes. So I'm not saying it's the exact same, but you talk about that shift and you think, well, with regards to the amount of points, you're talking about probably a similar type of thing. Arkansas, you kind of have a similar thing, a little bit of a different way though, right? Because previously with Arkansas, it was built on extremely fast pace, turnovers, right, that sort of thing. And now you've got, like you said, recruiting good athletes, kind of the star athletes who could score and do the thing. So it's like the same sort of thing. It's like we still kind of expect them to be high scoring like they were before, even though you have a new coach. And again, like you said, at home, Rockin' Arena there, it was what Cal did a lot at Kentucky is those guys at the end of the game that are in there are playing to score for the fans. They're not just sitting on the ball and everybody's dead, right? They're trying to get those fun points for the crowd and everything. And hey, the students love it, so why not? If you could do it, so we expect that to help us out and get us over the hump here. Again, we're going to go over 149.5, barely getting into an A grade play as the model says 153.5. All three picks today, A grades. That is our show for the day. Jake, parting words for the viewer.
Like, I'm just excited that all these people that are college football fans but not really college basketball fans are starting to get a taste of what a selection committee does to your bracket and seeding and all that. I can't wait for Joey Brackets to have to work year-round instead of like a 5-month period because he's got to come up with bracketology for football now. It's going to be incredible because like the resume argument is going to get wild with football and how little cross-play there is. So like which wins are valued and which ones aren't. I think that's going to be really fun, and welcome all those people to the basketball world of bubble teams and whatnot.
And it's it's an interesting discussion to have there too, right? We always talk about in college basketball when you're debating, it's not actually number 68 and number 69, right? It's number whatever 38 and 39, but it's like if you're the 39th best team, like obviously we've seen some fun runs from those teams, but it's not easy for the 39th best team to make a run to the Final Four. With college football, I think you kind of have the same thing. Usually the gap between, whoever it's going to be, again, it might not be number 12, actually might be, 11 versus 12 because whoever, at AQ or something. a lot of times the gap's pretty big, right? So I think it's going to be a lot of the same thing where it's like that last spot's not really going to matter. But just like we do in college basketball, people will get so upset at that last spot and all those seeding things. So we're seeing it now with college football. We'll be into it college basketball soon enough. It's always fun as long as we can take a deep breath and relax at the end of it and try to enjoy it as much as we can. That's our show again. Thank you for watching. We'll again try to do this live here around 9 p.m. Eastern. So check us out. Come ask questions, comments. We'll talk whatever games people want to talk about. If they bring anything up, we'll keep trying to do this. Hopefully you are enjoying it. Otherwise, though, again, best of luck. And remember that you can eat your betting money, but please